Now we are ready.
Uh-huh.
Cheers, my friend.
Yes. Good to see you.
Good to be with
Good
you.
to see you. Yeah, I'd woke up early today to go out to work, and I was like, I have to make sure that I set up time properly to come back. And all I've been doing today, to prepare for this podcast, for some reason, to be speaking to you remind me of self-care, of like, so I just been spending the whole morning asking what can I do to take care of myself today. That's how I've been preparing for this, because that's just the kind of person you are. And so I'm super happy that we get to come together.
For you, what does self-care looks like?
Mm, what does self-care look like?
Yeah.
Self-care is an act of loving oneself, and it might look different in different scenarios. Sometimes self-care can be just taking a moment to myself, or sometimes self-care can be, oh, let's go spend time with friends because that's what gonna make me feel so loved because I want to hang out with friends. Or well, particularly today, and usually my kind of go-to self-care is either like a sauna, sit, a nice quick 30 minutes workout where I get to really lift heavy things and drink a nice cup of tea, breathing exercise, and just listening to some really beautiful music, relaxing jazz or something like that. And all of those activities are self-care for me because it make me feel so good. Recently, I've been asking more of that question because surprisingly enough, I was listening to Sage, Tony, and who else? I'm sorry, I have to remember her name. But no, they have a podcast, Tony Robin podcast, and it was
Mhm.
on Valentine's Day, and it's about love. And Sage really speak about self-care in a way that is the example that they gave was that she bumped into the wall and she said, "Oh, sorry, body," and kiss it. And that
How
that kind of
beautiful.
extreme, isn't it? And it melt my heart. And it
Yeah.
melt my heart because of that's the kind of example we're having as our, as world leaders and coaches and people in position to make changes. And it's just really melt my heart. So yeah, I'm going more toward that. Is like, what do I need at this moment to take the greatest care of Chen, to make Chen's really wonderful and beautiful?
Mm,
Because I realize how important that is.
yes.
Yeah. So what about you? What does self-care look like for you?
Today I also had that intention and that
Mm, mm,
my whole day was to prepare with the for you for this
wow,
moment.
wow. Honor, I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm grateful.
And for me, this day looked like, okay, I wake up, I open my
Mm,
eyes, and I'm so grateful for three things. I
mm,
just wrote three things that I'm grateful for,
mm,
and three things that I am going to make today happen. And you
mm,
were one of those three things.
mm,
And then my intention for today,
mm,
for this episode, for this time together, and it
mm,
was to be present,
mm,
to be present and to hold space for each other. I'm so grateful that we have this
mm,
opportunity to share our time and our ideas.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Catch up. Because I consider you a good friend. And good
Mhm.
friends you just have that feeling of like, wow, I just want to get a chance to talk to this person. I know I'm gonna be loved. I'm gonna be held in the presence with so much care in speaking, in communicating, and that's that's beautiful. That's so
Mm,
beautiful to have.
yeah.
Yeah. So the intention is to be present.
And I brought a candle
Okay.
for us to light up that intention.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So
You said intention is to be present, and the one more is
to be present and to hold
whole
space.
space. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whole space.
How sacred it is to for me to hold space for you and to let myself be held by you also.
Do you want to state the intention first now that we have the candle lit?
Yes, may
Okay.
we be present with each other.
Mm.
May we hold space and be light. Be light.
Feel space, be present, be light.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Is it okay if sometimes I'm angry and upset? Does that make me less
Hmm. It. I think it makes you whole.
whole? Oh, wow.
You know, because we have been taught or we have been practicing to desire what feels good. And in that desire, we have neglected what is not feeling good as if it is not part of this experience, of this human experience.
Mm.
And it's so sacred when we tend to that part with kindness, to see with tenderness
Mm.
and compassion what does not feel good so that it feels welcome.
I heard quite a bit of teachings where the goal of that is really to unite the mind so that it doesn't stay in this kind of a dual space where, one is being the boss of the other kind of
Mhm.
things. And so that act is a very powerful act psychologically because it's allow us to become whole. Yes, correct. Whole-mindedness because we no longer have a separations in most neurosis that have to do with the mind is extreme versions of that. It's like two people exist inside and multiple personalities and so on. But a really big part of my self-care is to completely and unconditionally love myself, meaning even the part that might feel as though I should punish myself for. So, yeah, because it really strains just how can I punish myself if I am I? So who are you?
Mhm.
So bringing us back to kind of like, oh, we're just thinking wholly. There's no parts of us are different. So that's actually true intelligence, or rather the beginning of intelligence, because then we see things more clearly, I think. And that's a big part of my self-care too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are so many parts of us, not only two, but as infinite as our perceptions and our interpretations can go. So, for one thing that has happened, I can be happy, angry, sad, anxious, excited, and all of those parts are valid.
Mm,
And when we name that as a part of me feels happy, a part of me feels sad, a part of me feels confused, a part of me feels whatever comes, to welcome it,
mm,
right? And also to say, like, and a part of me doesn't want this to be, doesn't want to experience this. A part
mm,
of me doesn't feel it deserves to be loved. And a part of me knows that it deserves to be loved. So the complexity of the human experience and the conditioned mind that we have been through history, through our evolution, all of those parts are within. And when we name those, we can be the observer and separate from the identification with those parts.
observing what? Who is observing what?
Right. Observing the conditioned mind,
Mm,
observing my soul,
mm,
observing what is going on. For me, this practice of be present is to take the observer out of the mind and into the body.
mm. Why
Like
why is it important to take the observer out of the mind and into the body? What does that do to us?
it brings it brings us out of the story, out of the story that is happening inside of this complex mind.
Mm. out of the stories. So meaning that stories are being generated inside the mind. So when we take our attentions, observer, the attention of the observer to the body instead of staying in the mind, it's like shining lights into a different spots. And then, so what happened when we shine that attention to the body? What happened?
For me, it brings presence.
What is it, this experience of being present for you? And why is that important? Why are we always talking about present, present? All the spiritual teachers, present, the power of now, being present. And what does that mean to be present?
To be not fighting constantly, not wanting to change what is constantly, like all the time, not being this enough, not being me enough. There will never be enough for our ego. And ego, by saying ego, I am referring to that part that believes that its value is in what it has or what it is or the external.
Identification with things, with outer objects or outer relationships, anything exterior, kind of an attachment to have a better sense of me is the ego attachment, according to Eckhart Tolle and some of the spiritual teachers. And I think that's really true. I examine it in my own life. When I hang on to things, they will most likely cause me anxiety, sense of fear, and so on. But when I just let go, completely let go and trust, the funniest thing, the only difference between my life now and when I was younger is that now I feel completely at ease, relax, and trust in life, in whatever there is. And I have very, very little fear. I don't think I could think of anything that I would say psychologically I'm afraid of. I don't feel afraid.
Wow, wow.
And that's a really beautiful place to be
Yeah.
because really it's so grounded. It feels so stable and strong
Mm.
to live life without that constant anxiety. Anxiety is just constant fear, jitteriness. Just can't quite be like, oh. That's why in yoga they go, yeah, breathe out. Right?
Yeah.
Relaxing, relaxing the
Ah,
body. Yes, at ease. That's how it feels. And I do come to the bodies. I'm becoming more aware lately of my body. And last night I was talking to my wife before going to bed. I was getting some yogurt out and we was on the cell phone. I was like, honey, I can feel my whole body, my whole being celebrate when I think about and doing the act of eating the yogurt. I can feel every cell in my body feeling good about the act of eating yogurt because I was like, oh, I'm hungry. What should I eat? Oh, I could have some of that, but that's heavy. And then I was like, oh, what does my body want? My mind wants some potato chips, but my body said yogurt. And this is honey yogurt, and I've been loving it so much. And that's what happened when we become out of mind and go into the bodies, that the intelligence that created and run the hearts and run the veins and the muscles and millions of different things to allow us to just smile and communicate and talk to each other. That intelligence know what to do. But that's so far as what I've learned about being in the body and out of the mind. What do you think?
today I was observing eating chocolate. I don't know in English. In Spanish is trufa,
Trufa. What's in it?
a bowl of chocolate.
Uh-huh.
A
Pure
little
bowl of
bowl.
chocolate.
Yeah. And I was eating it and just observing through the window. And then the sun just went. No, it didn't want anywhere. A cloud passed by and the light went and then the colors went like
Mm,
from the leaves and it was like, oh my god, my eyes are just like observing
mm,
this trick
mm,
of just the colors, how the leaves were brown, and from one second to another, they went to black. And
mm,
it was like, oh, magic.
mm.
And I enjoyed it. And I went with my partner, and he was like, oh my God, you don't know what I just saw. And so
Mm,
excited, like a kid, like a child.
mm,
And and I've experienced also what you said. Like last week, I just had an apple
mm.
or dinner. And when I wanted to rest, it felt like, oh, so good. So,
Mm.
so good. So
That's like
grateful for
for
that.
dinner, apple.
Yeah.
Apples for dinner. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, that day, like asking ourselves, yes, in each moment, what do I need now? What
Mm,
does this now feel good?
mm,
And I admire, and like what you just described about
mm,
fear, I feel like I am in a stage of my life that
mm,
I am coming to welcome more of fear. I've experienced anxiety through the past year when we met
mm.
because my life had a whole 360-degree change, or
Yeah.
however
Mm,
you say it. Everything was new. And it
mm,
was like, what? Who am I?
mm,
What am I doing? Where am
mm,
I?
mm.
Um,
Whoa.
so that change and that openness of possibilities
Mm.
came with this unknown world,
Unknown. Unknown world.
and that outside unknown
Mm-hmm.
brought the inside unknown. Wow, what came was like, am I prepared
Mm,
to face this new stage? And then every step I give is like, okay, I am
mm,
doing it. I see the fear and
mm,
I am given the step.
mm,
And I am really, for me, in this stage of life, I am embracing more of fear, of holding myself literally every night in front of the mirror. I
mm,
say to myself, I am proud of you for what you did today. I am proud of you
mm,
for
mm,
being here, giving your best. I am proud of you for also what you just showing up. I am
mm,
proud of you for going to the gym. I am proud of you for
mm,
anything that brings me this sense of I am being seen and I
mm,
am being heard and I am
mm.
being validated.
Seen, heard, validated.
Yes. And every time someone else has told me, they see me, they hear me, they validate me, but it was not my internal conversation. It didn't make sense. It didn't resonate. And it's so powerful to say it to yourself, because
Mm,
then if an external person, an external voice
mm,
tells you that, is just added, the cherry on the cake, but
mm,
is not you're not waiting for it, for you to see, yes, what I am feeling is valid and is also celebrated. I deserve to be celebrated.
mm. I deserve to be celebrated.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa. I deserve to be celebrated. Okay, that sound kind of conceited, no? Some people would look at it and say, well, that's she's or he is full of himself. What's happening?
Mm.
Why is that not an ego act? Oh, yeah, they're just full of it.
You know what comes to mind is, how do you, not you, Shin, but it's a general question. How do you feel when someone else is experiencing what you want to experience or having what you want to have? What does it feel? Is there an inner feeling of, I hate this person because she has or is
Usually,
experiencing what I want and I don't have?
usually, yeah.
So then we can validate that conversation, because it's not us, it's what we have inherit, and give space for something else and choose to see that if that person thrives, I will thrive. And to give ourselves permission to see that as a driftwood, like it is coming to me. I see it in you, so it is coming to me. So
Mm,
I decide to celebrate you
mm.
because I
Wow.
deserve to be celebrated.
Wow.
And
Mm.
then that feeling of, how would you describe in English or say it, that feeling with a word? She has that and I don't have that. What?
Jealousy.
Yes, thank you. That was the word.
Mm-hmm. Jealousy.
So to say, yes, I see the jealousy, and
Mm-hmm.
there is also a space for celebration, for thriving, for community. I think the more we celebrate others, the more we can truly connect feel that connection with others and not feel the separation of I
Mm,
am alone
mm,
in my story and no one
mm.
gets me.
Wow, that's so important. That's actually something has been coming up in my mind quite a bit lately. And actually, it's the epiphany is on episode 10's release, which I don't know if you heard episode 10, but it was with one of my friend, Dima, and he's a master at breath work.
Yes, I
And
did.
I love Dima. So I planned it to celebrate on that day because thought to myself, well, what would I be doing if one day when this is something that nourished me, that I do that nourished me, and this is something that I dedicate my life to, what would it look like? And it would look like, well, I really wanted to just get to people to celebrate the little thing, the little accomplishment along the way. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna celebrate myself. I'm gonna go print out some lovely arts from the podcasts that I design it and the websites and different things. I'm gonna go to UPS and laminate them and come homes and put them up and take out my award from movies and put them up. Take out my certification for permacultures and put them out and look at it and observe and celebrate the person that I am. And it's funny. It feels kind of awkward. It's like, am I being conceited, or this is something that is natural to do? But I decided to do it anyway because I know different. Really, it's just getting to me that it's so important that we don't wait for anybody to celebrate us because if we don't see ourselves, we don't celebrate ourselves. Even if the whole world does, we wouldn't. That's why William Robbins or those beautiful artists who make people laugh, they are so loved, but they end up killing themselves because of that internal. They don't celebrate themselves. They don't celebrate for eating better and go to the gyms or treating ourselves kindly. And that act of celebrations is always nice to celebrate with others, obviously, but we're just talking about a transformations of paradigm and different way of being so that we carry with us self-love, not self-hate, because self-hate is then that's we hate everything, and hates bring in destructions, and it reflect with the conflicts and the damage and the things that's happening everywhere.
And
Wonderful.
to bring compassion to that hate,
That's a way
to
out. If you want to transform that, that's a way out, is to bring compassion to that
mm,
very part of us that is hating.
yeah, to see that, because I can see it outside. It lives also here inside, and I cannot change it outside, only here inside. And it's not in changing, but transfigurating that into love.
Basically recognizing that the hate is not me. It's not me. So I don't have to identify with it. So I don't have to be shameful of it or angry for it. It's just an emotion that the body generate. And it's a wonderful thing as we feel things, but it's not who we are. So that's the whole thing about liberations, is to disidentify with those emotions and know that they're not me. So, oh, it's okay. So I don't have to hate it. And because when it is me, then I hate it. So I'm hating myself. And how can I hate myself? It's just like this game of me and myself we play. Then when we get tired of it, it's so painful when we do that to ourselves and we're like, okay, is there a way out, guys? Like, oh, self-love. Or
You brought an important word
uh-huh.
that I wanted to talk about, like
Okay.
shame.
Shame.
What I feel,
Mm,
where do I feel shame? What do I feel shameful about?
mm,
And that, when I am ready, I can expand the love there. For instance, in a personal story,
mm,
there was shame in my body, the way I looked. And when I was ready to see, oh, here there's a little bit of shame,
mm,
every time I looked in the mirror,
mm,
I would decide to say loving words to that. Like,
mm,
there's no shame. Like, I
mm,
love you.
mm,
I mean, there is no need for shame, but I see you shame.
mm,
And what you said, I know you, it's not me. So I decide to send you some love. And then when another trigger comes from the outside, if I see a person that I am judging because of the way he looks, I would decide to see that opportunity to send love to that shame that is
Mm.
inside, you know? So thank you, person, because you are helping me to expand my awareness and expand my capacity to love and to embrace. Every time we see something that triggers us, it's just that, like an opportunity for us to expand a little bit more.
You know, when you say it, it's really easy. Like, oh yeah, I just look at the mirror and oh, love my shames, and oh yeah, and when I see other people, then I feel certain things, and I examine myself and send love to that. It's really difficult to do that, and it's not something that everybody does. Do you have to go on a journey to get there?
I was just tired, tired
Tired of
or
what?
of feeling this same story of I am not enough, I am not loved or fully loved. And it was because of that, because to be fully loved is to see the shadow, to see the uncomfortable parts. And it is not pretty.
So shames, right? Sending love to that, recognizing, being conscious of that when it come up as we go through our daily, having enough of those negative, those destructive story that don't nourish us. The other day, okay, I watched this 8 hours of this flat earth theory and all this conspiracy stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that could make sense. But then at the end of the day, I come back to when look at and listen and hear and watch the story of the universe coming together and 13 billion years of good stuff happenings and all this magic and the beauty of the cosmos when they recreate it visually with data that they collect and so on, that image make my whole being resonate and dance and excited. But the flat earth theories and all that conspiracy make my body feel so fearful and anxious, not good, you know?
Mm,
And so I'm like, you know what? I don't care which one's true. I'm gonna choose to just whatever my body, my whole being feels so beautiful with. That's what I'm gonna go with because that's gonna make me be a better human being and treat people nice and so on. So I don't care. I'm just gonna do what feel like my being feel good, in a sense. And feel good is not to be misunderstood with like, oh, I'll take some heroin and I'll feel good. That's not that kind of feel good. It's just this sense of ease, beauty, and relaxations. So it's a
mm,
bodily experience for sure. Yeah.
mm,
So I chose to believe that life is wonderful and beautiful, and wherever I go, that's what's gonna show up. And people are wonderful, and life is abundance and beautiful, and the sunlight is gorgeous, and feel so good. Health care for, and there's so much abundance and beauty everywhere, everywhere. That's how I feel these days.
and I think those things are the ones that feel better when you going back to the ones
Mhm.
rewind.
Mm, mm,
I think those things are the ones that feel so powerful when you celebrate those. Like
mm, mm,
we think that to celebrate myself I need to do something big,
mhm.
or it has to be something major. And when you can notice what has already changed, you are not the same person that 1 year ago, and we don't notice if we don't take the time to notice it.
Especially those around us who have conceptions and story of who they think we are.
Right.
It that's bring a sense of difficulty to people growth, and sometimes in life we have to let go, and that might look like letting go of all relationships, letting go of all habits and whole things. But the letting go is not contrived, but it's actually because of the recognitions that there's better stuff going on rather than just those old stories, and we can always change and okay, Chandler. He said on episode 9, and I said this, I loved it so much. I mentioned that last time with Hannah as well. And a few of my friends said this. They said that perfections, it's progress, it's always moving. It's not a static point. So we can always move and evolve and continuously refine ourselves like fine wine, right? Getting better at loving oneself, loving, then giving to the people, the things, scenarios, situations that we come in contact with. And life is just a beautiful, beautiful time.
Right. There is not an end. Sometimes we think there is an end, and it's like, no, no, no. Remember, till the day I am in this earth with this body, it's all a journey. It's all a progress.
Well, till the
So,
day I die, I will be grateful. Never stop. Never stop. I think that's the mantra that Tony, if I get anything out of this event, it's gratitude, gratitude,
yeah,
gratitude, gratitude,
right.
gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And it become a habit after a while, when I'm going to wrap this idea, thoughts up and then move into vulnerability. The more we exercise, just like the muscles, right? The more we exercise the act of self-love, self-care, and of living in beauty and abundance and seeing life as that and choosing, knowing that they exist, oppressions and segregations and all of the negative stuff, we still choose to spread love. In the next sections, we will go into vulnerability because I think Vanessa wanted to touch that. And I think all of this pre-conversation is really important to go into vulnerability. I think it's really essential to open our to a podcast with that. So we'll take a little break, but coming up next, vulnerability. See you in a second. Just came back from a previous conversation. Let us continue.
So
Mm,
here we are.
okay.
And I told you that I wanted to touch into vulnerability
Mm,
because when we open up and we let others see us,
mm,
there is a sense of calm, of I don't see you as an enemy that is
mm,
attacking me, but as a brother, a sister. There is a beautiful book that I'm reading
mm-hmm.
that
What's the
is
name of it?
an Amkara, The Spiritual
Anamkara?
Wisdom from Celtic World
Mm,
by John O'Donoghue.
okay.
It talks about that power of, okay, so an Amkara is a soul friend. There is such a power in embracing what we are talking about, like the dark and the light. We don't see it as different, but as part of the same cycle.
Mm,
Here it is, just some words from the
okay.
book. We often remain exiles, left outside the rich world of the soul simply because we are not ready. Our task is to refine our hearts and minds. There is so much blessing and beauty near us which is destined for us, and yet it cannot enter our lives because we are not ready to receive it. The handle is on the inside of the door, only we can open it. Our lack of readiness is often caused by blindness, fear, and lack of self appreciation. When we are ready, we will be blessed. We become addicted to the methods and programs of psychology and religion. We become so desperate to learn how to be that our lives pass and we neglect the practice of being. To be spontaneous is to escape the cage of the ego by trusting that which is beyond the self. The ego is the false self born out of fear and defensiveness. The real soul presence has humor and irony and no obsessive self seriousness. below the surface of our conscious awareness, a vast unknown rootage determines our actions. The mythic story of the earth and the gods whispers within us. We become aware of the patterns of blindness and obsession which unknowingly drive us. When the unconscious becomes illuminated, its darker forces no longer hold us prisoner. This work of freedom is slow and unpredictable. Society functions in an external way. Its collective eye does not know interiority. It sees only through the lens of image, impression, and function.
What do you experience when you share that, when you read that?
It brings me to this image of when we ask, what is the purpose of this? And we see the value only because it has a purpose. What comes to mind is we kill insects because we don't see a value. Like, what is the use of them? They have no use. So, I mean, of course, they have a use for the balance of life, but to us, they don't have to have a purpose to serve us, to serve humans. And what if there is no purpose? What if the beauty of appreciating that is what is going to give you the sense of aliveness?
Appreciate, the act of appreciating.
This sense of freedom, I must say. Like, today I was writing just my thoughts in the morning, and what came was, I want freedom, like financial freedom, spiritual freedom. And then I stopped and I said, in this moment, I decide to experience that freedom.
Whoa. Wait, what? You just decide to experience that freedom. What does that mean?
In this moment, like not going to the world of the mind, but in this moment, I don't need anything else. I have everything. My whole life is in this body, like in this space. And my whole life is here with you in this moment. So I have the abundance that I am desiring in an inexistent world, in an existent future. And right now I decide to experience that, to be open to life, because life is giving it to me right now.
Wow.
So it's like, yes, I see it. I decide to see it. I decide to appreciate it. I decide to welcome it. I am grateful, and the freedom just comes.
Well, but how if we don't really have it? Say let's say a person say, oh, he's like, oh, I'm so poor. I don't have enough money to buy a big house. Like, how if he doesn't have it, how can he feel it? Or she, she want new Mercedes or enough money to take care of family or whatever it is, that financial or spiritual I want to be spiritually free so that I don't have to be in psychological pains anymore, and I want to have perpetual constant beauty and uplifting and positive thinking in my life. But if I don't have that, how can I experience it now?
Right. By letting go of the idea that your happiness is on that.
By letting go of the idea that my happiness is that.
By giving you the opportunity to be grateful for what I have now. Like, I have the breath, I have my breath, I have just in this moment, in the mornings when I take a shower, I take my hot shower, and at moments, for seconds, the hot water goes and it comes cold water. So I stay in the cold water and I say to myself, this is just momentary. This is just momentary. And sometimes it's 3 seconds, sometimes it's 10. I don't know, but sometimes our mind has this trap of, I've been here that long, So for how long more I have to be here? And it's just like, no, the past is no longer here. You are just in this moment, this moment and this moment. And I think that comes with practicing that idea of what the fuck for me means being in the moment. Like not listening to me or Shen, but asking yourself and tapping into that intuition and that wisdom inside of you. What does that mean to me? How do I want to experience this moment? Not by the mind, the story that the mind is telling me, but imagine that you don't need to be anywhere else. Imagine that for this moment, you don't need to be anywhere else. No one needs you. There are no problems just for this, the sake of this practice, of this moment. Because the mind just goes to the no, but I do have problems. I do have, and it's like, no, you are not forgetting that for eternity, just for this moment. So that you experience that freedom of letting go.
That's really important. That is very important. And I know how important it is. I want to go deeper. How does that connect to have anything to do with vulnerability? What does that mean to be vulnerable and this capacity to let go and just be in the moment? Are they connected at all?
I think when your soul feels naked, like
what does a naked soul look like? Okay. I feel you. I feel you.
When you peel all of the layers of who you think you must be or you must experience or who you must identify with or blah, 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 blah.
Naked Soul is the name of this episode. I swear to God, it's Naked Soul.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Good stuff. You see, the name always come up. I never have to think about it. It just kind of just happened. Oh my God, Naked Soul, peeling off all the layers of who we're supposed to be. Because it's true though, the only reason why we could not be financially free and spiritually free is because we say we're not. So meaning that who we are is not that. How can we have it if we're not that? It's just this double buying kind of a problem that I don't have it, but I must have it kind of things. And how can I have it if I'm not it? So that's the teaching of, hey, feel it now, and then it will come later. So it's just the matter of the feelings, and it's true. The enoughness doesn't come from having more. The enoughness is a state of being. The reason why we keep wanting more because we don't feel enough. So the moment we feel enough, there's always enough. There's always riches. Right? Say I don't have a car right now and big house, but I can see riches in the sunlight, super abundant, super wealthy in sunlight, or whatever else. There's so much wealth. Is that the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And that's the teaching that teaching is so true, so powerful, because if we can trust in life and be vulnerable with life and open up, then we're health.
Oof, open up, yes. Welcoming and letting the universe help us. Wow.
But the okay, here I looked up the definition of vulnerability before starting this, and it say right here, the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally.
Wow.
Okay. So that's
Can you repeat that?
Yes, the literally descriptions of the word vulnerability, right, is a noun. The quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally.
Right.
So the question is, if the definition is that being vulnerable is opening myself to being possibly attacked or harm emotionally or physically, why would I want to be vulnerable?
I think that's why we don't go there that often. because we feel that we can be attacked.
Mm.
I just saw the Brené Brown Netflix show,
Uh-huh.
and she talks about vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and how when we share the story that is happening in our heads, we give the other the opportunity to share also what is like the story that is happening in their heads.
Mm.
And then we go to this space where a new communication, a new way of communication is possible, not from the concepts, but from vulnerability, from bravery. I think it's brave to be vulnerable because of the stretch that it requires.
Mm. It's, I don't want to. Why would I want to show people my, my weakness or my why?
And also because you are giving them the permission to love themselves in that. For example, I used to, let's see, let's go back to the image of
Mm.
the physical
Mm.
body image.
Mm.
So I used to feel shame around my
Mm.
body.
Mm-hmm.
And once I see and embrace my body, and I am vulnerable in sharing my story, like I once felt this, and now I am practicing this, and I am having these new feelings around my image
Mm.
where I feel more comfortable. I give permission to those who see themselves or identify themselves um, with that. Like, so there is a possibility also for me.
Mm. Mm.
I see the power when I hear someone else,
Mm.
someone's story
Mm.
that connects with my own experience of life.
Mm.
Like, I've also felt that,
Mm.
or I am feeling that, I am going through that. And that person is not yet in the other side,
Mm.
but is sharing. And wow, yes, I want to go there.
And it say that it's okay to struggle. We all struggle in so many different
Right.
ways, and it's kind of bring a sense of togetherness rather than separations. Like we're all really feeling anxious sometimes and scared and afraid, and many of the sides that normally we wouldn't want it to show to other. When we do that, you're right, it requires courage for sure to be vulnerable, to open up, and
And to give ourselves the grace of I don't have also to share everything. Like
mm, mm,
whatever it feels good for me, that is the part of the story that is going to connect with the other.
mm. So how do you practice being vulnerability? What's the deal to be to be better at that?
So my daily practice of vulnerability is
Uh-huh.
to communicate with the for instance with my partner, like,
Mm,
you know what, in this moment I am feeling anxious
mm,
and I need space. I need to go for a walk or
mm,
I need to do another thing, and it's nothing to do with you,
mm-hmm.
but I need this,
And
you know?
yeah, yeah.
And it
Recognizing one
feels,
needs and being
yes,
willing to share that,
and it
honor it.
feels uncomfortable
Mm,
because there is a story inside of me that says you always need to feel good, and this saying this feels vulnerable.
So that's vulnerability in practice, is to share the things that we're struggling with and being
Mm,
okay with it and embracing that aspect. Yes, it does feel beautiful to just let go, rather than having to just hang on to maintaining some image. It's exhausting. It's
it
like
is.
here's the way things are, and it's okay. Sucks a little bit, but we'll get better. Yeah, just accepting all parts, sharing that. Yeah, work in progress for sure. For me too, to be sharing things that is challenging and asking for help. Last year's been challenging, and I was brought to my knees, and all I could do was ask for my friends, people who love and I know that people that love and care for me will be there, and so I asked for help. I asked for to be heard, to be held,
Mm,
to be supported. That I think is a really important qualities that bring us, I think, closer to this feeling, this joy, this constant sense of beauty, because it freezes us from all constraint. We don't have to hide things anymore. Like,
mm.
it's okay to be a naked soul. It's okay to be a naked soul.
I
Wow.
celebrate you. I
Mm,
celebrate you for doing that, for reaching out
mm.
um, in difficult times and also in good times.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So is there anything else you want to touch on and share with us about vulnerability? And vulnerability here is capacity to just communicate and shares the things that we feel uncomfortable, and share what we need, recognizing our needs and sharing that and being okay with communicating that. So you said your practice is to share it with your partner in communications. Anything else that you wanted to touch on vulnerability, to share with us a message of some sort?
I want to be vulnerable with you
Okay.
and to share with you my first impression of you
Okay. Yes.
that just came in this
Wonderful.
moment.
Okay.
Um, so I, the first times that I had this space with you, I was like, wow, this person transmits so much peace,
Mm,
and I want to be near that.
mm,
And you were part of that group of people
mm,
that brought more connection to
mm,
me with the way that I want to nurture my friends, my
mm,
friendships. So I wanted to share that with you, and I also want
mm,
you to I want to ask you, what
mm.
was your first impression?
Wow, that's thank you. Wow. Vulnerability feels amazing to me because it feels like an ego stroke or something.
Right.
It's beautiful. Thank you. I receive. That's wonderful. Wow. I feel that too. I feel at peace. I feel relaxed. I don't feel threatened. I feel cared for. And it's all inside of me, and my world just kind of become that because that's what I really emanate. So that's how I feel,
Mhm.
it's really. And that's how I want to continue to feel. And I have a commitment to myself. As long as I'm being alive, that's my commitment to myself. I want to be free. That's why I got to do it. Non-negotiable.
Right.
uh Impression of you. Okay, this is vulnerability. All right, let's practice this. So I'm just inspired. I'm inspired by the willingness to grow, to be better, to ask for help, to share, to be a part of community. I'm inspired by your willingness to express yourself, to embrace all part of yourself. I'm inspired by you and your actions and your speech, and I feel nourished when we communicate. I feel seen. I feel recognized and appreciated. I'm grateful. So those are the things that I feel in your presence since we come in contact, and obviously many other beings in that wonderful group.
Thank
Right,
you,
Reese?
Shane.
Oh, so that's basically vulnerability. That's a good practice?
Yes, I think
Okay.
vulnerability is to open
Okay.
conversation where
Okay.
you want to go to expand, where you have
Mm,
curiosity. Like I
mm,
think vulnerability with with your friends, with your family is
mm,
do the questions that you want to do. Ask. Ask to your partner, to your mom, to your brother,
mm.
things that you not normally ask.
And what does that do when we ask those questions that we don't normally ask?
you get to know that person a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to, if there's nothing else you want to share, we will wrap it up. And usually it will end with a round of few spontaneous speed round questions. What is the meaning of life?
For me, it is to be willing to be present.
Who are you?
I am.
What bring you the most fulfillments in life?
To celebrate. To celebrate others, to celebrate myself, to validate myself. Yes.
What is your purpose here on earth?
My purpose is being moment by moment there.
What is vulnerability?
To let others heal through our own scars and heal ourselves through those scars.
Thank you very much.
What is vulnerability for you?
To be okay with all the stuff inside of me, good or bad, any part of it, and not denying any, and be willing to have fun with it, make fun of it, and have a ball with all of me.
What brings joy in
Being
you?
alive.
What would you tell Xian from 5 years ago?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And what will you tell Xian
Thank
that
you.
is going to be
Thank you.
great, great,
Yeah.
great. Thank you, Xian.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a rating and turn on your Apple Podcast notification for weekly release. Feel free to share this podcast with others who might also enjoy it. If you're looking for ways to connect, my Instagram handle is in the descriptions.
Also, there are plenty of contents for your viewing, so please feel free to check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of On the Wheel. And this is your host, Chen, signing out.